Welcome to HESTalks. Today I will start with a simple question. What if schools didn't exist and we had to create the schools from the scratch? Would we honestly follow the same structure we use now? Will we use marks? Will we divide children by age? What exactly the new education system should look like? Because sometimes it seems like we are just maintaining the system that was created for a different century, for a different social and economic needs. But still we keep on doing it because it's a habit and we don't question it. But actually professional community at the global level questioned. And I would like to just show you this report that was done by UNESCO in 2021. And the name is Reimagining Our Futures Together, a new social contract for education. And I really would like to make you read this report because it has absolutely amazing message. Because I would like to just show 4 main points so that you can understand that our talk today, it's not just kind of fun exercise that reimagining an education system that already exists, what's for, right? The UNESCO speaks about moving from competition to cooperation, from individual achievement to collective well-being, from knowledge transmission to learning how to live together on a fragile planet, and from preparing workers from predictable professions to preparation humans for uncertainty. Do you understand that it's not a small adjustment? This is a structural shift. And I participated in the conference of UNESCO for future education in 2024 in Suwon, South Korea. And what really struck me was that we were not discussing, let's say, such usual traditional questions like assessment in education, tests, and how to improve the education system. We were talking about reimagining the whole education system, what it should look like, what is the purpose of education. It's a structural shift. And today we would like to try this format of professional brainstorming. And I'm very happy to have here with us an amazing woman and educator, Ms. Priyanka Bhatkoti. She's the director of Anand Niketan Group of Schools. She's an eminent educator who was involved in curriculum development, teacher training, developing a new pedagogy to serve the quality of education. And she set up different quality education institutions in India. And I'm really very happy to see you today. Welcome to our studio.
Thank you, Marina. It's a pleasure to be here because what you are doing in HES is something which is the need of the hour. And it's an honor to be here to be a part of this talk.
So in order to start our conversation, so we have 2 questions to explore. The first question, if we reimagine from scratch, not just focusing on our beliefs or our experiences, but let's try to reimagine from the scratch. The first question that comes, what should we focus on? If we think about neuroscience, about child psychology, about the changed landscape of reality that has been transformed by AI, keeping everything in mind now, what we know new that hasn't been previously. What should we focus on? What is our priority? What is not negotiable? And second question is, what should we avoid? What should we reduce that doesn't serve anymore?
Marina, thank you for bringing to the world the essential questions, the why, the how. And obviously, if these are addressed, things will fall into place, especially so for education. Because when we reflect on what we've been doing in the last 2 centuries, a lot what we've been doing in India has been more to do with convenience and less to do with what the child is actually needing. And there, that thought that if we have this opportunity to reimagine from scratch, look into the universal values that have to be imbibed in education always, and those values which are time-based, because some things will change with time, because society will progress, technology will be a disruptor and an enabler, both at the same point of time. So when we look down the ages, there is something fantastic that was always there. Initially, because maybe the education systems were in smaller cohorts, there was a lot of personalization. There was a lot of thought given to ethics, integrity, communication, And yes, obviously, mathematics and finance would always come to it, because first you have to look at the necessities of life. Yes. Now, as you rise higher in the hierarchy or towards your actualization, human beings have never been just happy to have food, clothing, and a home.
True.
There has always been a sense which drives us higher, and that is it what distinguishes us from the remaining living organisms that inhabit the planet. And that has been the reason for our evolution and growth. At the same point of time, that has also been the reason for many pain points that humanity has experienced, like wars. So, when you give us this opportunity, and I would want the whole world to grab this opportunity, that we are at such a cusp in the history of mankind that education can be reimagined, it can be reinvented, and it can be re executed in a manner that it suits the child and is leading the world towards community growing together.
Yes, this is very important.
So we will have to choose those values which have always been strength, and this will cut across countries and cultures, because at the end the human DNA is the same. The need to have people around you, the need to work with them, the need to rejoice with them, the need to share the joys and sorrows and make development happen. Now there we will have to pick and choose, because in a given day we are all given in our account 24 hours. We can only do as much. Yes, there will be certain boundaries. So let's look at what children need so that they can learn, and they can learn in a manner that they're safe, secure, and happy. It is a system that does not stress them out, because in a stressful environment, we lose many children. There, I would say it's very important first to give certain things, like you said, non-negotiables, where there has to be communication, where there has to be self-directed learning. A lot of the setup that we have in education now is not making our students independent learners.
Yes.
They are only using a knowledge set or develop a skill set for a temporary period, and it is discarded. Now, education cannot be a tissue paper that we are discarding. It has to be the compass that leads us towards fulfillment. There, we will have to identify our community need. Again, like you very rightly said it, from competition to collaboration and cooperation, communication, pathways of communication, clear boundary lines on what should be done and what shouldn't be done, where the ethical and the integral components have to be embedded and re-embedded so that the community is working for sustainability and a win-win.
So may I just so that a little bit summarize that part, because we are just highlighting very important points that actually will dramatically change the education structure if we just put them in the center. First of all, you mentioned values that should be in the center of the new education system. Right now, I can't say they are absent as a concepts. But what for me as an educator is important, how to make values live within education system, not to be just articulated or just lectured, because I don't believe in lecturing values. I believe how values shape the environment, so we can see them as a, I would say, living compass, right? So that we can just, you see, every time see that it works, it is present. So that this is very important, and it really will just change everything. Another thing you mentioned that about moving from competition to cooperation, that requires different even communication skills, because as a communication skills, there's something basic, and every education now traditional education institution can say that yes, we develop communication skills, we do all kind of this reading, listening, writing skills, so we're just, but the problem is that how to see the other person, how to collaborate, how to find the language and the way, the format, how we can collaborate and create something, because collaboration always has in mind something common to do, to make. So that in this case, just understand, if we're speaking about that, I'm just a little bit, I would say, translating that in a visual so that our audience can refer. If we're shifting from to cooperation, we need to provide such learning environment where children can work on some projects, and all these communication skills, social skills that should come, and values, they will be lived because they need to apply. They need to somehow feel the differences between different team members. They need to take ownership of their project or whatever. So many things come along. So that it also changes a lot education system, new education system. Another thing is that, again, we need to understand what kind of, because you said, what is the, the needs of community as a bigger, I would say, so that education system is not separated, it's not just separate a kind of world that is lives absolutely, their own life, but it's connected to the social life, to the new style, I would say, a new life we want to create. Because what we create in schools, it will be afterwards, yes. So this is the society. The next day we will have this society. So we need to understand that's a huge responsibility. And also taking into consideration that now we are facing global issues. They're interconnected. And this part I would like also to add about knowledge, because you mentioned, you see, it's not about even, it should, different nature of knowledge. We need to focus on systems thinking, because right now this is the only way to develop. If we speak about evolutionary development of humanity, not as only individuals, but as social beings responsible for the future, we need to start thinking, have systems thinking, so that it should be in the school. So it's also a big challenge for us. And another question, what should we avoid?
What should we avoid? Yes. So I'll start with the first part, values. We'll have to identify our core values, values of honesty, values of hard work, values of collaboration, values of not just that I win and you lose, but I can work to create a win-win over there. Now, let's talk about school education. Just a sage on stage will not work, because the generation that we have in the classrooms is a thinking generation. It is a generation which has digital devices, which is connected, which is knowing what is happening in the world. So they will not just believe that is being spoken to. So values have to be caught, not just taught. Let's take a simple example. When we are doing profit and loss in a class, mathematics, common concept across the world, there's numbers, there's percentage, and there is profit or there's loss. You take the example of two shopkeepers and maybe they're selling tea. One has got good quality at a decent price. Another one lowers the price but then mixes, and it is not exactly what is being said which is being sold, because there are two kinds of tea leaves which have been mixed, but it is called as Darjeeling tea leaf and it isn't. Now, initially, maybe the first shopkeeper may not have as many customers because the other one is priced less and the label carries the same designation, Darjeeling tea, there. But over a period of time, the first businessman would have a loyalty base, because the customer will know that I am getting exactly what I am paying for. Yes, so there is no cheating, there is value. If children set up these shops, and like what you've done beautifully, sustainable cities, you build a city, you build a community. Now you can do it by using material which takes care of the environment without destroying it. Over a longer period of time, the value and wealth generated there will definitely be more than in a place which gave no thought to sustainability. Initially, it may be cheaper, but the long run costs that each human will pay will be much more. Now, these are case studies, these are thought processes which have to be brought into the system. There's a child who develops from a dependent student to an independent to an interdependent student out there who's able to work not just for the self but in teams. Such a kind of student, when he moves to the workplace or develops a business of his own, will have a wonderful ethical set as well as a knowledge set and a skill set to be able to create value and wealth. Now, that is the sense that has to, and the common sense that has to be brought into common practice, because then everybody will gain so much more. Now, when we're talking about what is it that we need to eradicate, there may be doctors and engineers, and every day in the world we are looking into where there are malpractices happening, bridges falling, or the health that was promised, or the diagnosis that was not correct. Some faults are systemic faults, but also somewhere or the other that value was not given, that if you want to be a doctor, you have to care for human beings. Your fees will come, you will earn, but at the same point of time, do not do it compromising somebody's health there. Yes. So if these are strongly imbibed through the school years, through our education set out there, I'm sure that we will all be winners and we will be much wealthier. We won't just be rich, but truly wealthy in so many ways. Now, a couple of things will have to be also gradually transitioned out. Like maybe initially we were writing letters to communicate with each other. Now there is technology which connects us instantly. But yes, the amount of data that comes to us, we need to filter out. Yes. So, similarly, that active filtering mechanism is required in education because we will have to focus on what is essential and also what is the need of the time. These two things. Essential will always remain, and what is as per the need of the time. For example, in computers, earlier we had to learn DOS. At this moment, Python is more important. Yes, coding is the buzzword out there, and in times to come, maybe it's going to be something else. So that's transactional, that's timely. But when we thought of language, how to be respectful, and language, I mean not just the verbal, but the non-verbal, respect for each other, which is a non-negotiable out there. These are things that we will have to bring into the DNA of education.
Maybe just because we are now a little bit running of time, and we have really, because we asked our followers to ask some questions we can answer. And as I won't be able perhaps to cover all the questions because they are very interesting and very important. Let me just ask, so the question, I'm just reading from the Instagram. What type of exam structure should be, we're discussing about future of education. Can coachings provide the study environment if schools fail? Can we remove jealousy from students? My relatives say that competition acts like motivation. Important question, by the way, about motivation, because another question also has, if we remove competition, we remove motivation. So that somehow these two things, they come together in different our messages. If competition is removed, what will motivate students? In Mahabharata days, competitions were organized. Is there any difference between competition of that and present days? If competitions are stopped in sports, what should be the new system? How will we recognize talents if competitions are removed? Thank you. So it's a kind of huge, I mean, I don't think we will be able to perhaps answer all the questions, but if we just focus on competition and motivation, so that what about, how do you think in new education system, should we have competition?
I'll speak with the context of Mahabharata that you brought to this conversation. There are the 5 Pandavas and there are the 100 Kauravas. Their teacher is the same. Yes, so Dronacharya. Now look at what Yudhishthir stands for. He is always honest. Arjun has a focus and attention, and the others, each one of the 5 brothers have qualities. Were they all taught the same things? No. Dronacharya looked into every student, looked at what their strengths were. So Arjun became the Dhanurdhar, or the fantastic with your archery there. Yes. On the other hand, look at the Kauravas. If greed became centric to what the focus of your existence is, through the same teacher, if that ethical value of honesty and that collaboration was not there, those were 100 in number, yet their greed became the cause of their own defeat. Now, both set of brothers were competitive. Now, who was the person who catalyzed it all? It was Krishna. Krishna, who came as a mentor, Krishna, who facilitated their direction. He did not take part in active war when Mahabharata happened, but he became the charioteer. So here the teacher will also have to be the charioteer, who has to tell the students in their moment of doubt that you have it in you. And Arjun, you have to stick to your dharma. So the students have to be told that when you are challenged and you are in moments of despair, you have to stick with your dharma. And there the light will be seen. And if we can rise above that, at the end, it was Pandavas who came into power. Greed will be the beginning and the end. So here humanity also has to look into that too much of consumption from that maximalism and buy, maybe to what we need is what we will buy, and eliminating what is not necessary will have to be done forth. And I think that answers the question there.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful answer. Thank you very much. I hope at least that question we could answer in a very beautiful manner. But as now we have to finish our talk, really, because we have so many things to discuss. We have just started, my dear friends, we have just started this talk because education system is not something very easy to reimagine. Because we need to think about actually the future of the whole society, about the future of our civilization, so that these changes will have that wisdom. And what exactly today we focused on, and I really want to finish our talk today with this thing, that it should be value-based. So that this is the only way how to meet the uncertainty we have already entered as a civilization, and how to make decisions so that all of us as humanity, we will benefit and live on this beautiful planet. Thank you very much for being with us. Follow us on Instagram and join our next HES Talks.